Life can completely change at a blink of an eye. Sometimes you can kind of expect it. Other times it just sideswipes you and you're just like, whoa, all right. New reality. That's exactly what's happened to Patti Hunt a couple times. She's going to explain what she did, starting all the way back from the COVID era. She completely dove into the podcasting space with her husband, and since then have blown up top 5% podcast worldwide, attached to a massive brand, sponsors begging for her to accept them. She's going to break down exactly how she did this. She's also going to talk about another completely life-changing event that happened to her earlier this year, sideswiped her, and how she's brought herself back up, and she's still in it. She's resilient as hell. She's incredible. And before we get into the episode, I want to shout out the clone. If you haven't tried it yet, it's totally free. I have an AI-driven clone based on all the episodes of this podcast, over 600, and also other content I put out. Try it at hustleandflowchart.com/clone. It's free. You can chat with it. You can work through any kind of problems you might be facing in your business, your life. Get some ideas, brainstorm, anything you want. hustleandflowchart.com/clone. See you in the episode. With smaller budgets, shorter timelines, and sky-high expectations from customers, growth is feeling kind of painful for a lot of business owners right now. But HubSpot's here to help you out. They just announced over 200 major product updates that makes the impossible feel a lot more possible when it comes to growth. They have something called Breeze, which is HubSpot's suite of new AI tools that helps you get through all the busy work and into that more impactful work. They also have something called Breeze Copilot, which is your sidekick to assist with a bunch of different tasks and boost productivity. They also have Breeze Agents to help automate a lot of manual time-consuming work and also add extra expertise throughout your workflows. And then they have Breeze Intelligence, which is this big comprehensive picture of your prospects that shows you who's most likely to become loyal customers. They've also reimagined their marketing and content hubs, so they have a whole bunch of new ways that you can create better content. There's updated features there to generate better leads, and also tons of ways to up-level your marketing and revenue forecasting. So try this out for yourself. Get ready for some growth without the growth pains. Visit HubSpot.com/spotlight to see them all and demo them for yourself. Patti, we're doing this, and I'm so happy that it's been a long time in the making. I know that much. So I'm happy that you're here.
I'm happy that I'm here too. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Yeah. And this, I guess we'll go back because, a lot has happened in the last 8 months, 10 months that we've known each other, somewhere around there. And it started with the beginning of 2024 at Podfest. I got to give a shout out. And we
Yes,
had
a
whole event
podcast,
there. Yeah.
right? And we were at your master class, which was fantastic. We learned so much.
Yeah.
We met you and instantly connected. Like there was an instant connection.
Oh, I felt it with you, with Dan, and 30, 40 other people in that room. It was cool. And maybe we'll do it next year, this upcoming year at Podfest. TBD, I'm not going to, but maybe. But I'm happy that we connected. And, Jacob, producer of this show for a long time, I know has started collaborating with you even further too. So,
Yes,
really,
I am so grateful. Yes, Jacob's taking care of all the background stuff for the RV Life podcast. I couldn't be more grateful to have that off my plate.
well, that's I don't blame you because that's why I have him around too. And like we both said, we just wish he was a little closer so we could record in person, videos, the whole nine. But here's
Yeah.
what it is. It's
Right,
okay.
right.
We need a clone of Jacob somewhere.
Do
Not a digital clone. Yeah, two at least. Well, yeah, Patti, and so you already mentioned RV Life because the reason why we got connected is, of course, that mastermind, that event that we did in person, but it extended for multiple days. And then I know we kind of support each other all the way throughout here and there throughout. But RV Life, I want to talk about your podcast there because it's awesome. Right when Jacob and I met you, we're like, for one, you, Patti, and Dan is awesome people, fun people. We wanted to spend the whole event just hanging out and telling stories about RVing because that's literally what you podcast about and have a whole media thing around. So I don't know where to start other than like, what is it? Let's start there. And then like, I want to get into the story of how the heck it came to be.
So, RV Life Podcast is a podcast that was started a little over a year and a half ago to talk all things in the RV community. And the goal has always been to inspire people. So we educate, we entertain, and we explore all things RV lifestyle. And that has been people, places, experiences that, we bring guests on to talk about those things to help the RV community.
Mhm. And you're living it, are living it. I mean, like literally recording all around the country, RVing. It's like
Right.
raw and real. And that's what I, I really love about
Right.
your style.
And it is, and I always wanted to make sure it was that way because so we do it as if it's live. There's no real editing. I tell my guests, this is as if it's live. You say something, make a mistake. Well, you just have to correct it. I'm not going back and changing things because I wanted it to be raw and real and authentic.
Yeah.
And we traveled full time for over 3 years in our RV. We had sold everything
Wow.
and hit the road. And when you're doing a podcast in an RV, you've got sounds, you've got noise, you've got guests on that have 6-month-old babies that are talking through the whole thing. And we've had that happen, the
Yeah.
dogs barking, and that all stays in there. So it's been incredible to go around the country, meet people, and then have them on the podcast to share the
Mhm.
knowledge that they have.
I think it's really cool because you're getting a bunch of people's perspectives in the journey of RVing. There's a lot of reasons why people even want to do it. So I think it's almost like a voyeuristic way, a little bit. It's like, hey, this is a real like peek into my life, RVing, or the story I have around it, and at least that's how it comes across. I think it's cool.
Absolutely. Yes. And we wanted to inspire. So again, my mission's always been to inspire people to fully live life.
Yep.
That has been my mission for 20 plus years. And being in the RV and showing people what was going on. We did an episode where we said how to live in less than 400 square feet without killing each other.
As a married couple.
As a married couple, as partners, whatever that looks like,
Sure.
it's not the simplest task. We went from a 3,200 square foot house with a hot tub and a pool and a walk-in closet to less than
Wow.
400 square feet of space. And you've got to be able to transition, pivot, navigate that, and enjoy the journey. Enjoy, sometimes it's messy, it's raining, and you're stuck inside,
Yeah.
but really embracing that. We wanted to show people what it looks like and how to embrace that, how to get through the tough times when you're in the RV,
Mm.
and how to enjoy the journey along the way.
Enjoy the journey, enjoy the people you're with, because yeah, I can't imagine any other experience like tight quarters, and you're doing your thing. And from what I remember, one of the chats I had with you and Dan is I believe you didn't have any RV experience. You didn't know what the world was at all, right?
It all started during COVID. We
Uh-huh.
were almost a year into COVID. Dan's been in the entertainment industry for his entire life. So
Mhm.
he always movies, TV, big stuff. Like he's done major movies, a nominated documentary.
Didn't he
Uh,
work with Johnny Carson as well?
He's
Or
worked with so many
so
people.
I was
I
like,
can't
dang,
even keep track. Yes, yes. He did some movies for M. Night Shyamalan, like The Sixth Sense. He worked
wow, okay,
but he's done a lot. And so we were in Las Vegas and he had a show that was going to be on the strip at Caesars, one of the Caesars properties. And with COVID, they said, we're not opening back up for at least a year.
wow,
And so he called me up to his office one day and he said, let's sell everything and buy an RV and go full-time RVing. And literally I laughed.
yeah,
I thought he was kidding. And then I look up and I'm like, you are serious. And he said, yes, what do we have? We're sitting here, money's going out, nothing's coming in. Who knows how long it'll be shut down?
yeah.
Let's just go. And I walked away. I thought it was nuts. And then we had conversation. What are we going to do on the road? I had been in an RV to that point a total of 7 nights, camping in a tent, 2 weekends. That was my experience. That was it.
Yeah.
And so it took about 3 months, which isn't long. We watched every YouTube video out there. And I finally said, okay, what do we have to lose? And when we talked about, well, what are we going to do on the road? He said, well, we'll create video content to show people what there is to do, especially during that time.
Hmm.
And that's what we did. And actually, before we left Las Vegas, we got picked up from the CW in Las Vegas for a 4 episode series about what
Really?
there was to do in Las Vegas. Yes. So it was like my sign, okay, maybe people would enjoy this. And it was just really cool. We got to do all kinds of cool things, and it's on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And so we got in the RV and took off and made all kinds of mistakes, and we shared them. Said, listen, this is a mistake we made. Don't do this. And we just had fun.
It's freaking awesome, and I love it because you're very transparent. I know there's the fact that you're not editing things out. I think it was either you or Dan said there was like a time where there was like a big gust of wind or something like blew Dan away, and yeah, I think it just it was with all the recording equipment. It's just like the show continues.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there have been times where things we've done live podcast episodes where, there's a live audience, will be at like the Hershey RV show or the Tampa show, and something crazy happens. So now I'm trying to maintain everything that's going
Order.
on.
Yeah.
Something crazy is happening with Dan, and I've got to explain to the audience what, to the podcast audience,
Yeah.
what is going on. Because yes,
Sounds like chaos over there. Like,
and
yes.
it is.
Yes, a little.
It
Yeah.
is chaos, but it's fun.
It is, and that's so I love the realism behind everything you guys do, and because before that, before RVing and all of that, you were a school teacher, correct? Like
Yes. I was
totally
a
different life. Yeah.
totally different life. I was actually a high school teacher for
Uh-huh.
20 years, almost 20 years. And I tell this story a lot. I hated to speak in front of people. So speaking on camera, on a podcast, in front of an audience was something I was never going to do. And I would tell people how back to school night, I had a team of teachers. So I'd make them do back to school night with me so I could hide behind. There's always that one person that wants to speak. So I would hide behind her.
Hmm.
And so obviously I've had to learn and get over my fear. And I've spoken in front of audiences and obviously podcasts and video. And I look back and I'm still not sure how I got here from there.
I can relate. I mean, I was never the outspoken kid in school at all. And it wasn't until like end of high school, maybe even after, when I was like, oh, yeah, I think it was playing in a band for me. It kind of like forced me in front of people. So, I mean,
I'll do it.
but the podcast helped. That's for sure.
Oh,
Kind of.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the show itself, like, so tell me about like, so when you guys started the show during COVID, great time to do it, by the way, because so many people, I'm sure the market was like flooded with interest in the show. Like, you had pretty quick success fast, right?
It was, and to this day, I'm still blown away by it. So I think within the first month, we got a message that said we were in the top 10% of all podcasts worldwide.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. And I went on and I Googled and I was just blown away. And then a month or so later, we got a message that said we were in the top 5% of all podcasts worldwide. And I was in total disbelief. And still to this day, when people ask and I say it, I hear myself saying it, but it's unbelievable. And what that says to me is people want to hear what we have to say. And that is my goal in doing it. I wanted the ability to have another platform to inspire people, to educate people, entertain people. And so I'm excited about that people are listening.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, the fact that you're showing up, you've been consistent. I think you're taking people on your journey. Like, that's the thing that I've always said about podcasting. It's like this one-to-one kind of connection that you can get with some, especially in the audio side. YouTube and video, it's a little different, but still, you have that unique bond in a way where no one usually is listening with you or watching with you. You're like, I really know them. So when they find you at a RV show or a conference, they're probably picking up what like one of these places that you're at, like Have you experienced that?
It's crazy. That is something that happens. I'm at an event for Integra. It's a Class A RV company, manufacturer. So we're at a private event, and the president of Freightliner Custom Chassis, huge corporation,
Huge. Yeah.
we're standing in line, and I'm saying, well, this happened. And he said, yes, I know. And I said, well, I do this. Yes, I know. And everything I said, he knew because he had listened to every podcast episode and
Wow.
could repeat. So, and then, yeah, I have a good friend of mine. He's probably my biggest fan. He listens to every episode and there is nothing he misses. So there is nothing I can say that he
So
doesn't
watch yourself.
get.
Yeah.
I know, I've become self-conscious of what I'm saying. Because I
Yeah.
shared something silly. Like I shared one time that I use a journal. I
Mhm.
have journaled almost every day since I'm a teenager, and I have
Wow.
books of these journals. And I like to journal with a pencil. It's got to be a regular pencil. And I will get people that remember that one little thing, and I can't even remember saying it. So it is kind of crazy.
Good thing you're not, or are you left-handed or right-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Oh, good for you. Yeah, I'm like journaling with the pencil would not work for me. It's just messy handing.
Messy, yeah. Can
I like
imagine.
that. That's impressive, by the way. Journaling since you were a teenager. I mean, there's got to be a lot of benefits for that alone. I mean, that could be a whole talk. Especially
Yes,
it's like
yes.
the trend now or whatever.
Oh,
But
yeah. Yes, it is. And I think it's very beneficial. I will journal about feelings and nobody ever looks at it. And
Mhm.
someday I'll write a book and share what's in there. But
Nice.
it is one of those big things when, you're going through stuff, especially.
Yeah, I mean, you got to unload the thoughts, and no matter what's going on, happy, sad, whatever, ups and downs, it's just another way to look at yourself, right? To look at the
Mhm.
inner thinkings or the cogs that are spinning, for better or for worse. But that's cool because I know it aligns with your bigger mission as well to, like to be your best self, to live full out and to experience life, which like definitely I feel like that's everything you do. I mean, not only as a teacher, so thank you for doing that because that can't be an easy profession for some reasons. Obviously, and we don't need to name them all. but,
Mhm.
um, but this whole pivot to RVing, it's like you're literally showing people a different way to live. Is how I take it. This whole like it's almost like a freedom that people desire, but I think maybe looky loo in most of the time, and living through you vicariously in a way.
And I hear that a lot. People, we'll be in a restaurant and have our RV Life podcast shirt on, and they'll ask, and they'll say, "Oh, I wish I could do that," or "I'm looking forward someday I'll do that." And then I have people that are, up a little up there in age. When I retire, I'll do that.
Mhm.
And I always try and tell people, go out, rent an RV for a weekend. You don't have to jump in and go full time. Don't wait. Don't wait till the when I
Yeah.
when I'm done working, when I retire, when I this, when I that, because sometimes you don't have that opportunity. So I always say that to people, and people are so curious. Um,
Yeah.
it's just amazing the people that come up to us and want to know about it.
Well, it's almost like you're giving them permission in a way, right? Like a permission to live. It's like,
Yes,
yeah.
totally. Yes.
Does it feel like it a little bit when
Yes,
you're doing it?
yes. Because listen, people in the RV world will say, did people think I was crazy when I did it? Yeah, I'm sure they did. I didn't
Sure.
even ask my family because I expected them to think I was crazy, but I just jumped in and did it. I mean,
Mm.
I'm not usually that impulsive to go from the idea and 3 months later getting in the RV, selling. We sold everything and jumped in with both feet. That's not usually me, but I think that COVID put a spotlight on live, get out there, do what you're going to do. And I just thought, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And we'll get a house, we'll get an apartment, we'll figure it out from there.
I want to pause this for a moment. Shout out a friend of mine, Sonia Thompson. She's been on this podcast a few months back. She hosts a podcast called Inclusion and Marketing. It's also brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. So her show, Inclusion and Marketing, digs into all the important topics around belonging, diversity, customer experience, and really bringing people and rallying them around your mission. You're literally including more people behind what you think is most important. So it's an awesome topic. She's made a full podcast about it. Listen to Inclusion and Marketing wherever you get your podcast. Are you tired of the hassle of building sales funnels? I totally get it. I've been there. You started your business not to be chained to your laptop all day. You built it for freedom. And thankfully, there is an all-in-one platform that makes it easier for you so you can focus on attracting customers online. The platform is called Kartra, and it gives you all the tools you need to grow your business. The best part is Kartra comes stocked with all the done-for-you campaigns, so you don't have to worry about thinking about building from scratch. Everything is designed, connected, and written for you already. It also leverages AI to help you with some of this writing. All you gotta do is just customize this to your liking, and then boom, you got a fully built sales funnel for you. This is marketing made easy, so go try it out for free. 30-day free trial over at hustleandflowchart.com/Kartra will get you there. So again, that's hustleandflowchart.com/KARTRA. There's so many backup plans, and I feel like, because to be honest, I'm guilty of saying like this, some of this stuff with my wife and I, like we've talked about, like it'd be cool to do an RV thing and all that. We've done little stints, not usually in an RV though, usually in our own car and doing it that way. But to your point, it's like, what's stopping you from at least renting something, going out for what, like a couple weeks? I don't know. Like, what would you recommend to like have someone start? Yeah.
I think it really depends. Going out in a car, if that works, there's something to be said for being in a car, we lived in Las Vegas, so going up into the mountains in Las Vegas, pulling the car over and looking at the stars like you've never seen them before. It could be an evening. Just take those little steps. And people that'll say, what kind of RV should I go full time? That's such an individual thing.
Yeah.
Try it. Try it. It's a very different kind of, vacation or trip than going to a hotel, flying somewhere, being in a hotel. Listen, I love the hotels. I love the room service. Don't get me wrong, but being in an RV and being able to pick up and go somewhere. And for people to be able to get a taste of that, they could go into a campground and rent a cabin. There's all different types of rentals that you could do without driving it. There are a lot of campgrounds that have RVs that are set up that you can rent the RV.
Oh, that's good. Yep.
Experience that way. So there's so many different options. Just start somewhere.
Is it on Airbnb now? Like, I know some people set up these kind of RVs that are just sitting in a spot, but I wonder, I don't know. I haven't thought of that, but I like the idea of like, hey, it's all pre-set up for you.
Yes. And that's something to check if somebody's going to rent it. Make sure you know what's there, because some cabins you have to bring sheets and stuff. If you're flying in, that doesn't work. If you're driving, it works a little better. But there's so much for some people having a tent. You could rent the tent and the sleeping bag and things like that. I quickly learned that a tent was not my thing.
No.
No, not so much. I like the running water and electricity.
A shower.
A shower, yes, a shower.
That's my wife as well. Like I loved camping with friends back in the day, even doing some backpacking. But there's a point where you're like, a shower or a nice bed would just be nice, and not wind blowing or whatever elements.
My big secret is I need to be able to plug my cappuccino machine in.
Now we're talking.
That's, my idea of camping, cappuccino machine.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, the kind of road trip that my wife and I did, we actually did bring the biggest appliance was our espresso machine. And we're like, well, it was in an Airbnb, but we sure as hell did use that while we were popping around different places.
Yes.
It worked.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, there's no one thing for everybody. For me to say, oh, definitely go out, sell everything, go full time. No, there's no one scenario for everybody. Take baby steps. If it's, not to say it didn't scare me to death, this idea of getting in an RV and going, it did, but some people need those small steps and getting out and just start somewhere, do something.
Well, I want to go really fast to the business side of a podcast, because I think that's the part that most people struggle with. And I feel like you, like, right when we met you, and I say we because Jacob and I were like a duo at Podfest, and yeah, is we just had so many chats with y'all, you and Dan, and the business side, like, it was just cool how to hear the back end of how you did this, like RV Life being a brand that already existed, and then here you are with a podcast that, and totally correct me if I'm wrong, but you tapped into the brand. They already had an audience. And then here you are. Yeah, with like you have like you're just selling like crazy, all these sponsorships and all these things. Like,
Yes.
pretty
So
sweet. Okay.
yeah, and again, it was very surreal. Um, Dan had said we were already doing the YouTube channel, we were traveling. He said, let's start a podcast. And my thought was, I didn't want to take something else on from scratch. And not a month later, the people from RV Life came to us and said, we want to do a podcast. You guys would be great hosts. Let's partner.
Hmm.
And from there, we created, an agreement, and they brought on RV Life, brought us the first sponsor. And then
Mhm.
after that, because I'm at shows and I'm talking to people and connecting, and people would say, how's the podcast? They would ask for the number. So what are the
Yeah.
download numbers? And then I have to explain that the numbers don't really mean anything because there's nothing for them to compare. It's not like YouTube channel.
Right.
YouTube
Right.
channel, you could see subscribers and stuff like that. So I'd say, but we are in the top 5% of all podcasts worldwide. And so the they
Sells
gave
itself.
it sold itself. The
Yeah.
advertisers came out of the woodwork. I was telling people no. I was like, sorry, we don't have space. I was also deciding who I wanted to partner with, what was authentic for me. It wasn't just selling that space.
Mm.
It was just somebody that a product or service, a person that I truly believed in and wanted to partner with in that way. And so all of my ads now are live read because I could truly talk about the product or service.
That's a big tip right there. Big
Right.
gem. Yeah.
Right. So it's just, again, it's the authentic, it's the real connection. And
Mm.
people seem to, I was just on a call with the team about moving forward with the podcast for next year. And actually Jacob said, well, you only have like 2 or 3 ads, right? And I said, no, there's 5 of them. Now
Mm.
Jacob listens to everything, but because of the way I do it, doesn't seem like an ad, which was
Mm.
that was totally my plan, is to not be
Nice.
like, here's the ad now,
You just kind of work it in naturally.
work
And
it in. Mhm.
I think it's great. And especially because you're picking and choosing your things that are relevant, things that are true to the audience and you. So, yeah, I wanted to share the whole like business side of it because I thought it was awesome. And I mean, there's so many shows out there, and I know a lot of y'all listening have a podcast, and it's okay to attach to someone else's audience or a brand, and then figure out how to provide value that way. And yeah, they might introduce you to the sponsor, the partner, affiliate, whatever it might be, in a way that you couldn't maybe do yourself, or it's like kind of running uphill if you try to do it yourself.
And the
So,
one thing I think I'd say to your audience, because I know, like, when we started the YouTube channel, we'd see these YouTube channels that were so successful. We wanted the secret sauce.
mhm.
We wanted to be able to do it. We wanted to jump to the big success of YouTube and all the money you make in YouTube. Not so much.
Right.
It doesn't happen that easily. I think that people going into the podcast, my opinion, my suggestion would be, don't go into it thinking you're going to make money, because it is a long road. And I just had somebody say to me, I just started my podcast. I have 20 episodes. What do you recommend? And I said, make sure what you're doing is something you love. If you're not loving the episode, the person you're talking to, don't do it. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, the biggest suggestion I could tell people. That's what I did. I went into it. I really enjoy this. I enjoy this topic. Let's do it. And if not, I don't do it. So
Yeah. I think it's great advice, because the thing with podcasting, it takes time. It's not an overnight thing. And it's consistency. The only way to do that and actually genuinely show up with your true self is to be interested in it, have a good time. Should be fun. I mean, it should be a
yes,
good time because we get
yes.
to choose. Um, and, like, Well, on that point, I mean, I want to go to like the new endeavor that you're now in the middle of, which I mean goes back to resiliency, living full out, s- continuing what you love, and I don't know, you've had some big shifts this year, and it's wild. I can't even describe it, but yeah, you're reinventing yourself in the business and all that stuff right now. Yeah.
It's big shifts is a way to put it. So just so your audience has a background, Dan and I have been together for almost 20 years. We just had our 13th anniversary. And last year he was having medical issues. In March of this past year, he had had some strokes that was, created a huge problem. And in April, he was hospitalized and th- I was told in April that he is cognitively impaired and he would need nursing home care and would never get better. And so, horrifying, shocking as anybody can imagine.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, in that, and I've grieved and I've gone through the grieving process and I'm still going through it. And I have, thankfully, a very supportive family and friends and counselors and a
Good.
slew of people that have helped me through it. And I think in any challenge that anybody faces, there is always something to come out of it that could be beneficial. First of all, the challenges have made me stronger. I have had to, thinking, oh my goodness, I'm not going to be able to do this on my own.
Mm.
Well, I had to pick myself up and do it on my own. So I've had to shift business, all the background stuff you go through when you lose somebody, because basically it's been a loss
Yeah.
because, I choose to move on. And in all of this, I hope people realize again, life changed in a blink of an eye for us. I will never forget standing in the hall of the hospital and Dan's best friend holding me by my arm saying, you need to take care of yourself. He's not going to get better. He's not going to come out of this.
Mm.
That's something you never forget. And so to then again grieve, because that's part of the process, definitely. I've done more crying than I could even count. But then there's, okay, it's time to pick myself up and go on. And that's what Dan would have wanted. Um,
Mhm.
I have I now have a bigger mission to inspire people to live life fully. It's not a when I get to 60 or 65. He turned 65 in June. He's
Wow.
not like that old.
No.
Um, so, that the message I want to get out is go out, live life. If you have a dream, you want to go to the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta, stop just saying I want to go, make plans for it. Might not be this year, but plan for it for the next year. Start putting the money away. Start figuring out dates.
Mm.
Start somewhere with something.
It does change in a blink of an eye. I mean, everything. No one knows what's going to happen. And I mean, I lost my dad very early. Yeah, well, 5 years ago, but it was out of the blue. I mean, in his case, it was suicide. So but I didn't see that coming, of course, and I had all these other plans of things I wanted to do with him, for instance. And I'm sure we all have a story like that of it's like the what ifs almost. And it's like those can drive us mad, you know? And
Right.
I mean, thank you for sharing, by the way. And I mean, Dan's such an awesome, cool dude too. Like I said, I mean, like genuinely, and I kept saying to Jacob even before, I think we told you to, it was like, I just wanted to keep hanging with you guys the whole event. Pretty
And
sure
we
we
did
said
with,
that.
and
Yeah.
we did with you guys. I felt like I was being a stalker,
Yeah,
but
it's
yes,
okay.
we had such a great time. And,
Good.
then we talked about the possibility of the podcast for the following year and doing your mastermind. It was like, I said to Jacob, I said, absolutely, you guys have to. Like, there's no question. You've
All
got to
right,
do
you're in
this.
my head.
Yeah,
I guess we have
yes,
to.
yes, yes. But also to your point, and again, probably a conversation for another time.
Yeah.
Mental health is something that is huge.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think it plays a part whether somebody's sick and has a stroke or commits suicide. And it's something that I hope at some point to be able to go down that road and
Mhm.
help in some way. But that's a big one.
Well,
That's where
you're
thing help.
you're doing it already, and that's where putting yourself out there on the podcast and showing the realism, the real sides of what you do, and And so I feel like RV is equal freedom. It's like it expands you in different ways. And of course, I'm not speaking from experience, but I know a lot of people, like one of the old partners of mine, Randy. He lived in an RV for a long time, and he was talking about how it's changed his life massively, and just the different experiences you can't even predict. And to your point, I mean, like, live life fully. Like, where do you see people hanging up the most? And I'm curious of just like, putting it out there. I think we've heard it, but it's like, how do you actually just go do it? And I guess you said rent an RV, go plan some stuff, but like, are there some common things that people, maybe from your listeners, that just like hold them back from actually just doing the thing?
And I think with it's almost an analogy for anything you want to do. You look at
Totally.
this great, big, massive, how am I going to do this? What about getting gas? What about dumping tanks? How do I know what kind of RV? Like, so you make it this huge mountain. And the way I see it and the way I used to teach people is when you're looking up that huge staircase, if you look at the top and you're carrying and you're tired and you look at the top, it is dreadful.
Mm.
But all you have to do is look down at that first step and take one step. That's all you have to do. And it's the same thing for breaking something down, like, okay, let me go RV. No, just break it down to one step. What do you want to do? I want to go see the stars. I want to sit by a lake and enjoy the water running by. I want to climb a mountain. Pick one thing to do and just get started, because that's what holds people back. They never just take that one step, think about that one step, and get started on the journey. Sometimes it's just sharing with the person that you're with, because a lot of times people go, as a couple or partners or whatever, share, hey, this sounds crazy, but I'm thinking about this RV thing.
I like that.
There, yeah, there are RV shows. The Hershey RV show takes place in September, and the Florida RV show in Tampa is in January. It's a great place to start and talk to people and, get information, be with people who have done it or are thinking about doing it. And that's a great way to take that one little step. It's baby steps.
Baby steps. That's it. And I'm thinking like now back to journaling, because I mean, you've been basically a lifetime journaler. Like, do you feel like that could be a tool that can help? Have you used that as a tool to just like bust through your own mental stuff? Or do you have any maybe
Yes.
frameworks that you go to that can help?
Absolutely. And I've gone through a lot of personal development. I've,
Yeah.
done therapy. I've had mentors. I have coaches now that surround me. It's all about exploring, me, what holds me back, why I was so afraid to get in front of people when I was a teacher.
Mm.
I've done a lot of that, and that's within the journals. I like journaling. And I used to do this with my kids in high school. So I worked with at-risk youth, and I
Mm.
mentored them. I
Yeah.
was trained and I mentor them, and I love that part of it. And so what I'd have them do is I would give them a booklet and say, and I'd recommend this for anybody, start writing, set a timer for 1 minute. Don't stop writing.
Mm.
Keep going, keep writing for that minute, increase it as you go on. Don't worry about spelling, don't worry about how it looks, don't worry about punctuation, just keep writing. And if you get to a point where you think to yourself, I don't know what to write, just write. I don't know what to write, and just keep going. You could increase that. I've done that for 15 or 20 minutes.
Mm.
Timer went off and kept going. And then in it, sometimes you'll say, okay, here's where the hangup is. Here's where the problem is. Here's where what is really bothering me. Because usually what you think is bothering you, that car pulls out in front of you and you're screaming like a lunatic. It wasn't the car that pulled out in front of you. It was all the stuff that's happened that's filled your cup up. The car pulled out in front of you, your cup is now overflowing. So I think writing is definitely a powerful way
I love
to,
it.
unload that full cup for sure.
Yeah. I have a journal next to me, and I hate to say I have not been consistent for a while. I was
But
very
don't,
consistent.
but I'm going to say don't, because one
Yeah.
of the things I think happens is when somebody talks about let's journal or somebody talks about meditating, any of those things, they have this pressure on them that I haven't done it for a week. Now you
Mm.
feel bad. Don't. Do you. If you feel like picking up that journal and writing, write. If it sits there for a month, that's okay too. Because sometimes, like, I know there are some people that'll talk things into
Yeah.
record it. They don't like to write, or they'll type it out, or, they'll sit quietly and think about things. Whatever works for you. Again, I don't put people in a box. I don't think there should be any pressure of, oh, you didn't journal today. No, just let that stuff go. Let it go.
Thank you.
Yes, you are free. You are forgiven.
Thank you. And you listening and watching, same goes to y'all. Because
Yes.
I think it's a pretty common thing. So yeah, we're free, live life to the fullest. I mean, to wrap it up, I mean, this has been fun. And I'm happy we did this, Patty. And throughout this whole journey, and you might have already said it, but like, is there something that you've taken away that's kind of like that's gonna also help you carry on, like you did this big pivot from school to doing the podcast and videos, and then with a partner with Dan along the side, and now Dan is not with you on that. Like, what have you learned that is going to keep you going further for a long, long time?
Dan and I did everything together, everything literally. We went to Costco together.
Hmm.
I would, if I was getting on a meeting or doing a podcast like this, I would ask him, like, what should I do? Blah, blah. What I've learned is I can do it on my own. I'm strong enough. I'm capable. I need help. I need to ask for help. It's okay not to know how to do everything. It's okay to depend on people, but I can do it. That's the big thing that I learned here.
Awesome. It's great. And I'll just say, like, I'm in a mastermind locally here, high level mastermind, very big businesses. And there was one gentleman, won't name him, he's actually been on my show. But like he said, I'm actually asking for help for the first time in, like, I think he said like something like 20 years. He's like, I'm just not used to it and it's scary as hell. And I think a lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs, self-starters have that same mindset.
Yeah,
And goes to mental health too, like people that might feel like, "Oh, I can figure it out, or I'm prideful or whatever the
yeah.
story, it doesn't matter, but ask for help. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, it is. I have people I am so grateful to people. I have family, I have friends, and people that are, what can I do to support you? Truly mean it.
Hmm.
And that asking for help. And then I asked for help, and I had somebody that helped me start my new business name, start my business, get my EIN number, the bank.
Cool.
Yes, you
Yeah.
have to ask for help because it doesn't make you weak or less than or not capable. Everybody needs support and help for sure.
Love it. Patty, I appreciate you so much. And again, thanks for being open, sharing. And I know it's true from your heart, from your experiences, and sending love to Dan too. So
Yeah. Thank you
pass
so much
pass
for
that on.
having me. Yes,
Of
I will. And thank you. I appreciate
yes.
you. I love the podcast. I love what you're doing. And thank you for having me.
Very welcome.